First, I want to explain the process, and then I'll go into how this works and why there are a little bit of a measure of blockage, you might call it, but it's not if you understand the why. So let me first, I always pick on Mickey Mouse for those who've heard me train for numerous years. Mickey Mouse is inside the Qualtrics platform. Mickey decides to create a survey. Mickey will then create a beautiful survey inside the platform, and Mickey will then click publish inside the platform. When Mickey hits publish, it does go and triggers off a workflow. It does say my name when you click on that to send it to Jessica, but all that does is it just triggers a workflow. That's it. So they hit request to publish. So then what happens after that? Sorry, Mickey, the creator, will be sent, and I'm going to show you these emails in a minute, but I want to talk about high level first. Mickey would then get an email and make a decision. Do I want a streamlined review, an express lane, quick and easy, and I'll explain more of that in a minute, or a more of a comprehensive review, full package deal. So they would be asked a few questions regardless, more questions on the comprehensive for obvious reasons, and less questions on the streamlined express lane. Then it does go to our brand admins and to our quality assurance team, depending on who and what is being selected, right? If it's an express lane, all we care about is security compliance. And I'll explain more, just hold on that. The comprehensive review provides a lot more, such as helping you, approvers who don't have much time, to help you with making sure that's accessible, making sure the theme looks good, and etc. Once that is reviewed by our quality team or our security team, depending on which lane you choose, then that is where you guys step in. When you would get an email stating, hey, I'm the official approver. You are truly the data owners of this stuff. Even though it's an enterprise package, you are the data owners of this survey. So we want to make sure you, somebody in your agency, in your division, however you choose to do it, has some understanding that this is being built. So that's kind of the process. The required, where we talk about the intake, where Mickey Mouse asked to publish, right? When Mickey actually asked to publish, right, Mickey then had to fill out an intake. That intake, there are 3 required questions: survey audience, type of data, and the sensitive data policy warning. Do you have it? This one right here is so important. If we don't fix this ahead of time, you will be so mad at me. So this is why we're doing that, just to be honest. The Center of Excellence team has enabled a sensitive data policy in Qualtrics. First of all, let's take 10 steps back. Qualtrics is secure. It is a FedRAMP high environment, right? However, if there's additional security measures we can do, such as security data policy, let's do it, right? That's ultimately our goal, is to always be good stewards of our data. So that's kind of what that is. It's an extra layer. So what does that really mean? Well, there are certain keywords, certain regex that are inside the platform that can redact information. So for example, maybe I am filling a contact us form out that is not to collect social security number, and I start typing in my social security number in, well, that contact us form person probably shouldn't see that information, right? So that's a good use case of that redaction. The opposite is that you truly are collecting a social security number to process something, and if it's redacted, such like this, and we don't know about it, there is no reversal, none. So what does that mean? This means that this particular form is data violation, USA Social Security number and USA tax ID. Once it's redacted, Qualtrics, myself, Santa cannot get it back for you. However, if we know ahead of time that you are collecting that information and it falls into that security compliance, and it's not just Social Security number, I can't give you a long list of it, but if we see that warning, which it does appear in your expert review, then we can exempt it, and then the right people that need to see that Social Security number will be able to see it. But there is no turning back. So that's kind of the reason, the why, because that will cause you a huge fire. Because if you send out 1,000, you get 1,000 responses and they came back and they're all redacted, and you're like, why didn't that get fixed? you're going to be furious, right? So I would be furious, right? And so we have learned this through the pilot. I don't want to point it out, but that was the lessons learned on our part. That's why we do pilots. We found this out. We don't want that to happen to you guys. So, so those are things, that's kind of the why. The other things to consider why we know this is because Mickey Mouse might win the lotto tomorrow. And Mickey made this contact us form, or a form that might last longer than Mickey's tenure. There are things that we might want to do ahead of time. So if I go back to my previous life in my Google world, I can't tell you how many times I've had to help people when they created a form inside their own account that was on the website, then it broke when they got their account suspended, right? We don't want that for you either. We can be proactive on some of this. Should this be under a service account? Because when Mickey wins the lotto or decides to retire, we might want to consider that. Those are good things to think about ahead of time versus reactive when it's a fire, right? And so those are things that we want to maybe think about as we roll out this new enterprise platform. Again, not required, but things that we are considering when we review this. And it's also good to think about those things when you're building. So let's kind of walk through the process so you can kind of see these different runways. So I'm going to give you guys also this link inside the chat. We have updated this. Some of you have attended some of our training, and there was a pivot last minute this weekend. We have adjusted these different runways. And so with that being said, I want to kind of go over them and the benefits of, and maybe the best case scenarios for those. So with that, I told you Mickey will hit publish inside, then it generates a workflow. So Mickey hit publish. Okay, good to know. What happens? Mickey then will get an email like this. Let me blow this up a little bit better. Mickey's going to get an email much like this and says action required. The action is, what type of review are you asking for? Do you want a comprehensive, full package, wax on, wax off, view, full service, or do you want the mandatory oil change that you have to do? So when you get here, you'll notice it has a lot of information for you inside this email as well. The name of the survey, the trainer, and etc. Now, this would only apply to you guys if you're creating a survey, right? This is the creator, not the approver. So the creator, Mickey Mouse, goes in here and looks at it and would have to fill out a survey. Okay, so when they get here, then they have the option to choose which review they want. Full service, again, is one option, or the streamlined review express line. Let me talk about these just a minute. The comprehensive review is what we've already been talking about. That's the same thing. You get theming review, methodology review, an accessibility review, and a security review, and an agency has to approve it. What does that give you? That actually lets us look at your survey a little bit better. It gives us time to look at that survey, adjust, maybe use our Qualtrics support, such as Hunter and Brooke, to provide you. Maybe you could reduce your questions to 5 questions and get down to 15 versus 20. Maybe your survey block doesn't look really good. You know, we have no way of helping you if we don't have a chance to review it. This is also where we would provide more visibility to your agency. One of the things that's on the roadmap is to be able to provide you a detailed report. If we know more data, then we can provide you more data on that survey, right? What type of theme does it have? What does it have in there? Does it have a workflow? Does it have all that? So we can make better, robust dashboards. Also, more one-on-one support. I strongly encourage you, if this is a public-facing constituent survey, I would use the services that we have. Accessibility and theme are both iGov initiatives. Accessibility is a federal mandate. If you don't know that, please hear me correctly, though. Qualtrics is WAG 2.1. It is accessible, but just like any tool, it can always be not accessible when human factor comes in, right? You don't put an alt image on a text. That's on you guys, right? Like that's where we were trying to help and guide you on that. Ultimately, that is the why, right? Is to change that culture mindset. Branding is another important thing that is an iGov initiative. Again, full service package, don't have to, not required. But if I know some of you, your bandwidth to review surveys is not on top of your list either, if you can have another second eye, that is an option for you. However, there are some of you that have a really strong internal review process. Kudos to you. That's awesome. We have a workflow for you. You just take the shorter way through the Express Lane. These are also good for maybe internal, low-risk surveys, maybe something simple. You could take this streamlined review. Since most of you have seen the larger question, the comprehensive, what we call the Listen, Understand, Act review, I'm not going to go over that. But what happens when you do the streamline review, you would select streamline, put the launch date. That's just good courtesy, so we know what time frame we're looking at here, and click on next. And then you're asked a few questions. Who's your audience? Did you see the warning? What is your data? And then add anything else in that data. That's it. That's all we're asking. And then what happens is then we would quickly review it, determine, awesome. Okay, that one didn't have social security number. We don't see the warning either. Good to go. Send it off to you guys, the approvers. So if there's any setup that we need to do to make sure that exemption doesn't need to be on, just a quick look, see if there's anything that's flagging us in the sense of that particular error message. Then once we say, yep, good to go, send it off to the approver. And actually, you're not seeing the back end. The back end is pretty robust, really cool system, by the way. But I'm not going to show you that. But that's something that we just built within Qualtrics. It's just a Qualtrics thing. So we like to communicate. So this is still the Mickey Mouse thing. Mickey Mouse then filled out the survey, service delivery, the brand admins. Again, brand admins are the only ones that can do this. They will make those changes that need to be changed. And then we want to inform the creator, Mickey Mouse, that, hey, your survey is now being sent off to you guys. You guys are now looking at it. So we informed the creator, hey, your survey is being looked at to your approver. So now we know, we've informed them that you guys, the approvers, have access to it. So they've got all the information. They also get information of how you did on the feedback. So if this was a comprehensive full package, wax on, wax off, they will actually get a link and hear the feedback. We are trying to educate and train. They will be hearing what we thought. And then we also let the creator, the Mickey Mouse of the world, to let them know that, hey, we have office hours Tuesday and Thursday, come and see us. So now change hats. Let's be Donald Duck. Donald Duck is the approver, right? So, or Minnie, however you want to choose it. But the approver is you guys, right? So let me go ahead and change here. So when we've done our part, the admins have done their part, you will get this email. This is what you're going to see. This is pretty much your bread and butter. You're going to get the name of the survey. You're going to know who, which is important. So trainer 1, Mickey Mouse. Again, last minute pivot. We don't have everything quite done yet, but you will have what type of path did they choose? Did they choose the express lane or did they choose the comprehensive? Again, the decision's decided by the survey reviewer or the survey creator. You also get inside here a link of that very first survey that the creator chose. And also you get a link of the preview of the survey. So let me talk about those two things. So this is an example of the response of that survey that we had Mickey Mouse fill out. Comprehensive review, streamline review, and etc. It has all the answers to that. So for you, it's just a quick glance, right? So that's hopeful for you. And then if you did the comprehensive, you'll notice it's obviously longer because we ask more questions, right? So you can see then you get more information. Like, what are they going to do with this data? You, as a approver, might want to know, what are you planning to do with this, right? So that's kind of like, what things are you integrating with? Oh, I'm doing an API call. Ooh, I think we want to make sure this is on a service account, right? Because some people just don't understand all that, right? So you can see the difference between the two different views. The preview link will give you an option to actually walk through the survey. So this is an example. You can take a look at it. You can test it. You can't hurt it in the test environment in this preview. So you can always fill out the survey if you wanted to. You can also see it in the mobile view. You can fill it out as many times as you want. I do recommend that this is a really good view to kind of test mythology. But sometimes I've seen some of your guys' surveys, they're really long. So you might want to just kind of click on ignore validation, because if it's required, you have to fill it out. But sometimes you just want to kind of skim it. So this little button up here is your best friend, ignore validation. I wouldn't recommend that maybe your first look through, but definitely maybe your second or third look through. So this is a required question, right? And if I ignore the validation, it's going to let me move on. So, and you can always restart. So again, you have everything you possibly need to review this survey at your fingertips. You've got the feedback from the creator, you've got the preview link, and then you also have what we, as if we reviewed it, you have our input. So this one chose the express lane, and we're going to change the wording on this, but it'll say not applicable or something there if it didn't apply to you. Right now we have incomplete. So that has been passed through, but we also have a detailed feedback review. So in there, this is what that looks like. We have two different views, right? This is the only looked at security. So here's what we found. This is our notes. This is our GRC notes. Like, yes, this is what we found. We pass. This is what we discovered. So you have what we think we discovered, what you thought your creator discovered. And again, ultimately, you're the decision maker. Again, if we did the comprehensive review, you're going to have more. You're going to look at accessibility. Yep. Expert review passed. Help text looks good. Alt text looked good. We didn't see any bold, etc. So you see that there's more data for you to review to help you expedite your review process. So that's kind of what you get provided. And then your last step is the easiest part is, do you approve it with notes, or deny it? If you click approve, it'll just open up a tab and you just say approve and you are done. And then everything happens on the back end. On the back end, what'll happen is then you'll get a confirmation email that it's been published. So you know when it's truly been published, and so does the curator. So once we've done a little bit of a API call or whatever, we get to that point, then it'll automatically do it and you'll be notified that it's been published. So all that communication will just be done. Still working on some of those bugs, but that is the overall process that we're trying to do. So